Welcome.
Hello and welcome to the OzLoL podcast. This is episode 77. My name is Carrot Colossus. I am host of the show, and we're going to be talking this week about OPL Week 4. We've got some Mailbag, and we're going to be talking about Veigar. And to help me with that, I've got three fantastic gentlemen. We've got, to my, in the top right, we have the glorious looking wig on Victor Pradley. Oh, he's turned his microphone off, and we can't hear him.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah, good job there.
Am I cuter today?
I'm trying to decide if it's like Madonna or like the Warwick Kappa. You're probably too young for Warwick Kappa, jokes on.
No, I know who Warwick Kappa is. He's a football player. How old do you think I am, Carrot?
I don't know, about 14.
I was born in 1922.
Yeah, can has your voice even dropped yet? Can you shave yet?
I got a little bit of shadow up here. No, this is
you drew that in with pencil, didn't you?
This wig I actually stole from my sister. This was a Storm cosplay for a Storm outfit from X-Men. I stole it from her.
Okay.
Nice.
Well,
I
make
can
sure you
go
keep the lycra to yourself.
put on the rest of the suit if you guys want.
Yeah, no, that'll be fine.
Please do.
We
Please do.
really don't need to see that sort of thing. I don't need to be
who else is on
traumatized
the
for the
show?
rest of my life. You also heard the voices of Scott, Rankonius Rankin, and Stephen, Clerical Garstone.
How did I get bumped to the last slot of the introduction?
I don't know, last but not least.
Last but not least? Uh-huh.
Because you're never here.
Yeah.
Dieselfire just messaged me, where's your wig?
It's like pit lane
I
slots.
have a Timo hat. I should wear the
In the
Timo hat in
F1s.
place of a wig.
Well, at least it's not like the middle of summer anymore, so, you know, if you wear the Timo hat, you're not going to slowly melt on screen.
I live in Darwin. I'm going to slowly melt on screen regardless.
Alright, well, our website is OzLoL.TrinityForcePodcast.com. You can go there, get our previous episodes. You can get our Twitter feed. You can get our links to social media. You can also donate to us if that was what you do. If you love this show, and if you want us to get even better at what we do, then please go and donate.
Yes, I think it's if you donate to the Trinity Force podcast, Ponophobia might be able to finally afford some tinfoil to make that hat he's been talking about for 3 weeks.
Yeah. Probably not. He'll probably just make more beer. That's pretty much where all the podcast money goes. All the fat stacks he gets from podcasting.
Yeah,
I know. I
that's
sent him $1 million of my dollars so that he could get Scott a microphone.
Yeah.
And then he sent me a message. He's like, "Oh, it didn't come through."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "It didn't come through."
Yeah. He's bought himself a brewery.
Yeah.
Well, this particular person we're doing, if you don't know, you should check out TrinityForcePodcast.com, because then you get our sister shows, the T-Force podcast, which releases twice a week, which includes the aforementioned Adam Cogswell, Ponophobia Cogswell, and the T-Force LCS right now, which focuses on the LCS, unsurprisingly, since that's what it's called. And they release once a week. And yeah, so check them out. And don't forget Battle Arena's also on tomorrow, with Trippy Guy and Archer those fantastic gentlemen.
I thought they rescheduled that to Friday.
That's what I said, tomorrow. Oh, hang on, it's Wednesday today. Sorry. Friday.
Yeah.
My bad. I'm getting
I
ahead
jumped
of myself.
in the Helpcast last week too. That was real fun. He was
Excellent.
all alone. Poor Trippy Guy was all alone, so I jumped in after I played the first game.
I actually need to upload the VODs for that. But if you want to check out the VODs for both this show and for Battle Arena, and in fact, the VODs for the entire Trinity Force network, go to youtube.com/T-Force I think it's T-Force
T-Force podcast.
podcast,
It's
yeah.
T-Force podcast.
So, yeah, that's where the VODs are, and when I get around to putting up the VODs from last week's Battle Arena, they'll be there too. Let's talk OPL. So we've had week 4. We are now past the halfway mark. And, of course, spoiler alert, of course, still on top is Chiefs. They are 8-0.
Boy.
They won 2 games again this week, along with AV. Immunity, Direwolves, and Rich Gang and Legacy all won 1 each. And Sudden Fear and Victor's beloved Fortnite both went 0-2. But Fortnite actually forfeited their matches. So they had a match against Legacy and a match against AV, and they forfeited both of them.
There is a silver lining to this cloud that we don't actually get to listen to Victor talk about Fortnite this week.
I know. Can I do a Fortnite? I can't do my Fortnite watch segment. It's really sad.
Well, do you want to in replacement? Do you want to read on the document the little thing of why they forfeited?
So, well, I read it. I still don't have access to the document. Sadly, but I did. I don't have access to it. I can't get on. It's like you do not have access. One day, I think it's because Adam doesn't like me very much. But
not just Adam.
Poor. Yeah. See, it tells me it still tells me Goku Pix Productions needs permission.
Damn it, Goku Pix Productions.
I have read a article or whatever.
Okay.
A post.
Well, let me read a little statement. Oh, so you're gonna read the little.
Isn't up to date.
So the statement that was put out was, unfortunately for Team Fortnite had 3 players who all play at the same internet cafe and rely on a single external hard drive, which has the tournament realm patched. It was lost and was not possible within the time constraints for the players to patch their clients. This hasn't slowed down Fortnite, and we are still hungry to remain in the OPL. Though at the rate they're going, probably not going to happen.
Yeah, well, they probably would have gone 0-2 this week. Just because their matchups weren't looking particularly favourable and the opponents were looking strong, but their forfeit has made them 0-8.
Yeah.
Now there's only 6 matches left.
Yeah.
Now, if they won all 6 matches, they still would make top 4. Yeah. So I'm sure their heart's still in it, and they've got to be discouraged about this. But I think they're far enough down the ladder that they're going to start preparing for, qualifications for next season.
And considering in the next 2 weeks they're playing Sudden Fear, which they could win. They're playing AV, then they're playing Immunity, and then Chiefs. So imagine out of those 4 matches, and then they're going to play. Who's the week after that? They're playing Legacy and Direwolves. So they got 6 matches, and really, maybe they'll win 1. So they might avoid having to do a pants run for lack of wins. So that'd be good. It'd be embarrassing for them to have to run around the internet cafe with their pants down because they didn't win anything.
I think that
I get
might
the feeling Carlos wouldn't have a problem with that. Carlos probably wouldn't have a problem with that. I don't know if you've seen Carlos's God's Twitter page, but he's already got his pants off.
Okay.
So I don't think that's a big deal. So what I normally get to say in my Fortnite segments is Fortnite are picking like crap. And they're still picking like crap because they didn't pick anything this week.
Yes, that generally is a good definition of crap.
They didn't pick any bad champions.
Oh, I mean, yeah, that's a good point. But I did a little bit of research into the Fortnite, and by research I mean I tweeted at the Fortnite Twitter and asked them, "Do you have a coach?" And
this is sports journalism at its finest.
This is at its finest. It's about as much effort as I'm willing to put into it. And my response was, "We have a staff member committing time to it." What does that mean?
Did they put it
doesn't
in
mean they have that doesn't mean they have a direct coach. That means that they have somebody that's going, yeah, I think you picked bad. Yeah, you should probably drop better next time.
And the other thing is that staff member just a player?
I think it might be Victor Bradley.
Is it? I wouldn't pick Diana top lane before she gets buffed, so. And I wouldn't pick Wukong jungle.
Yeah, well, mechanically, Fortnite have shown that they can be really good.
Between CJ and Carlos, yeah.
Yeah,
CJ is excellent.
There's a lot of potential in Fortnite. They've just been lacking that sort of direction and apparently someone to keep an eye on the USB hard drives.
Yeah.
I think drafting and locating the USB hard drives is definitely where they need to work on their things the most.
This is kind of like a good scenario. Like this isn't the first time that obviously people having to patch the tournament realm has actually affected gameplay, because obviously Carbon had issues which were related to a job. Totally different scenario, but still. So what you need to get into motion, guys, is if you are playing on the tournament realm or you're going to be a pro team, you need to have some sort of backup option so that you can play and then you have your substitute. You know, not just one option. If that fails, we're screwed. Because what happens if you get to the internet cafe and somewhere along the way somebody's magnetized the hard drive, you're screwed anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Though to be honest, I mean, this has been a lot smoother than I thought it might be. Because I mean, if you look back to autumn split last year, or the autumn regionals last year, had a number of games where there was issues with DDoSing and all sorts of stuff, and we haven't seen any of that. So credit to the teams and to Riot. They've actually...
I think a big shout out to Riot on that, because I know that their team has worked really hard engaging with all the players and teams, just going, this is what you need to do. As long as you do this, everything will be fine. And yeah, the players summit that they organized, like I know the Immunity guys and a couple of the other pros that I've talked to spoke really positively about the information that they got out of there. So yeah, no, a big shout out to Riot, and well done for all the players out there who followed instructions.
Yeah, able to follow simple instructions.
Yeah. Now, Australia's internet has never been really one that has been getting a good reputation. That's just, you know, true. But
when was the last time we finished a competitive game without a pause?
Well, yeah, but you get them in LCS, to be fair.
Yeah, like, that's not, like, just in general, like, if, like, internets go down, we get pauses, you know, or we get lag spikes, and that sort of stuff happens. But when your realm isn't patched, like, when the actual game that you need to play is not correctly updated, or you're not able to log on for reasons directly within your control, those are things I don't want affecting. That's, like, I don't want that being a reason that a team goes 2-0 in a week, you know, or goes 0-2 in a week. Like, we want to see competitive, high-quality League of Legends matches. We do not want someone didn't fill out their paperwork properly. We do not want, you know, this person didn't make it on time. Or, and I'm going to let you use this as a segue, Carrot, someone has been banned due to inappropriate...
Rich Gang's Day Shifted, who was the AD carry, he has actually picked up for bad behavior in solo queue. So it seems at this stage that basically Riot are regularly auditing all their professional players, like not just in Australia but all over the world, and regularly checking to see if their players are abiding by high standards. And Day Shifted got picked it up. They've the statement goes, as part of ongoing monitoring efforts, we became aware that Day Shifted has been particularly abusive in a number of games. After investigating the chat logs, it was evident that in one particular game, Day Shifted did indeed participate in unacceptably severe and particularly hateful verbal harassment. After further investigation into Day Shift's behaviour, we found examples of unsatisfactory behaviour across multiple games. Unfortunately, Day Shifted has had a history of poor behaviour and aggression towards the members of the community, and he was given a 7-week ban. So I presume that means it would roll into any future splits as well. So, I mean, it's essentially an entire split ban. Which, of course, then impacted Rich Gang. The second time they've lost a player to a ban. This split, they moved Destiny to Marksman, and they picked up Fence Boy in support. So, yeah, they did okay this week. I mean, they got a free win from the 4-0 forfeit, but otherwise they got beaten by Legacy, and they looked pretty bad, which I rather foolishly on social media attributed to just not being as good as Legacy, which they weren't, but like I forgot to factor in then, hey, they got these new players and stuff, and then I made a dick of myself on social media, so there you go.
That's all right, because the plague spread to other people. Apparently.
Yeah, they started saying dumb things as well. But anyway, nevertheless, yes, I mean they picked up a free win with the 4-0. I guess it would have been interesting to see how they would have gone against 4-0 with that new player, but yeah, we won't know. AV, however, the guys who proved me wrong, because I said, oh, Legacy, they look so much better than everybody else. Game straight after beating Rich Gang rather convincingly, AV just kind of dumpstered Legacy, which was pretty. That was when my mea culpa came in. I'm like, I might have spooked a bit too soon. And AV actually looks really quite good. I mean, it looks like they've actually sort of picked up their game over the few weeks to really sort of. They didn't. Actually, I shouldn't say they dumpstered Legacy. They did well against Legacy.
Yeah, they performed well, is what they did. Which was more than your tweet would have suggested. Yeah.
So, I mean, they've definitely improved. So
having Porky back has definitely made a difference to that lineup.
Yeah. Just to touch on your tweet, and for those who didn't actually get to read it, you could follow him at Carrot Colossus on Twitter. But
Steve's just rubbing this in to maximize the embarrassment.
no, because I think it's an important discussion point.
Yeah,
because your comment was that based on the game that you were watching, which was the Rich Gang versus Legacy game, the top 3 teams are just on another level to the other team.
Yeah.
Right, and then in the following game, you were immediately proven wrong, and we all had a bit of a chuckle at your obvious, ambitious early tweeting. Yeah. But that idea in itself, like if you go back and watch all the games, and you go, okay, let's look at the 4th place team or the 6th place team against Chiefs, who are undoubtedly the best team in the league at the moment. They haven't dropped a single game. They've made a couple of errors in a couple of games, but they've been consistently able to recover from every single thing that they've done wrong, whether it be drafting, warding, positioning, or anything like that, and still come out. Like they are undoubtedly the best. But I don't think that they're so far ahead of some of the other teams, that it's just a guaranteed Chiefs will win this game. You could probably 4-0 versus Chiefs, first place versus 8th place. Yeah. You could probably, bet your money that Chiefs is going to take that and not have to worry. But when you're going Immunity versus Chiefs or Legacy versus Chiefs or Avant-Garde versus Chiefs, that's a game you want to watch because there could be a massive upset because that sort of stuff can happen at this level of League of Legends play.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think Chiefs really are. They really have stepped up. I think they really are cut above.
Well, we talked about this last week after the Immunity versus Chiefs game, and we were ahead in every metric up until one mistake that our team made, and then they used that one mistake to come back, get a Baron, get some towers, and the gold lead swung back. So, and we're in 4th place. We're not number 8 in the league or anything. We're in 4th place. I think we're tied for 4th after Avant went 2-0. I think that's what the current standings are.
So we might as well just mention the standings for the benefit of everybody else. So Chiefs is on 8-0, Direwolves 6-2, Legacy 5-3, AV and Immunity on 4-4 each, Rich Gang 3-5, Sudden Fifth 2-6, and 4-0 0-8. So I mean, I guess Legacy.
Wow.
Well,
you know what I just noticed as well about that standings? It's perfectly mirrored.
Yeah.
Top and bottom half. Yeah. It's perfect.
Thanks, Scott.
This week, I mean, Legacy this week played Chiefs and Rich Gang. So, I guess it'll be interesting to see. It looks like, because, I mean, I think when we started out, I sort of thought, well, Chiefs, Direwolves, Legacy, top 3, AV, Immunity, Rich Gang fighting for 4th. It might be possible. Maybe AV or Immunity. I mean, all it take would be one win over Legacy to go 2-0. Unlikely. Definitely, I mean, they're fighting Chiefs, so, I mean, they're going to have a tough battle in that one. But they're playing Rich Gang, potentially win there.
Yeah. Well, Rich Gang is struggling due to their roster changes. So
that does well.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Immunity's playing Rich Gang, and AV, who's AV playing? They're playing Direwolves and 4-0. So, potentially, it's, I mean, really, unless there's a big upset, it's probably going to have, I imagine there'd probably be similar standings. Well, actually, yeah. Let me think. So Immunity played Chiefs as well. Sorry.
How do you feel about Direwolves at the moment?
I mean, they basically have only been beaten by Chiefs. So yeah, they're actually doing better than I thought they would. I thought they'd be 3rd, but they've. I mean, really, to be honest, there's only one game in it between all of them. So it is pretty close. I guess it's. I mean.
This is actually reminding me
AV's probably got the best position. This week, they're playing Direwolves and 4-0, and Legacy and Immunity are both playing Chiefs. So you kind of think if AV wants to get a leg up over Legacy, or at least tie with Legacy in 3rd, this would be a good chance to do it. And heck, if they can win 2 games, they can beat Direwolves, they'll get ahead of them.
I think what Carrot's saying is that you should watch OPL. That's exactly what you should do.
I mean, early on in the season, things were looking like there was going to be some clear-cut positions and everything would pretty much be decided by now. But all of a sudden, results have just suddenly started going opposite ways to what we thought they would be going. So, and it's actually going to be a really close-cut run of the finals. the last, like you mentioned, 6 games or whatever it is left of the season is going to be intense.
Yeah, no, I mean it's looking like it's at this stage it's going to be pretty close up into the end. I mean, at the moment you're probably going to be having tiebreakers. I mean, really, does Immunity and Avant actually play each other between now?
Well,
they do play each other. So next week, so Thursday the 19th, Immunity and Avant are playing, and that's going to be make or break. Like that's going to decide who gets fourth, I think.
That's the following week.
Yeah, so following, yeah. So not tomorrow, but week
A week
after.
from tomorrow.
So week 6. Yeah, week 6. So yeah. Who's got Immunity in their final week? Immunity in their final week are playing Legacy and Direwolves.
Ooh.
Rip Immunity. No, just kidding. No, that'll be a tough week. I mean, considering that AV is playing Sudden Fear and Rich Gang. So yeah.
Yeah, but that said, the week before AV are playing Immunity and Chiefs, so
Yes, that's true.
It's all up in the air.
It
It's
is all up in the
exciting
air.
times. To
So
be watching
the battle for fourth place continues. All right. Well, so which are going to be the games of the week this week? Like going into this week, which games should people be watching?
Oh, the upcoming games?
Upcoming games.
Tomorrow night, I'd actually say the opening Chiefs versus Immunity. I really
That's
want
the
to
one.
see. Well, no, it is for me. I really want to see Immunity come out hard, because
yeah.
I know your boys can beat them, and they
Yeah.
showed that at EB Expo when I was there meeting the boys. And I like when I met the Immunity boys there. Just like T-Gun, I walked away. I got to have a good chat with T-Gun. I got to have a good chat with Zahe. I've chatted with Uberbro before. Like, they're just really good personalities, and I just want to see them just get that spark. If they get that one win over Chiefs, watch them go from strength to strength. All they need is that confidence from beating them once, and it will happen again and again and again from there on.
Yeah, I really want to be like, I really want to be the team. I want Immunity to be the team that took a game off of Chiefs, and then Chiefs to go undefeated for the rest of the season. It's gonna happen. It is gonna happen.
That in
I
itself,
believe.
Chiefs 16-0, the dream.
Well, you've got to consider as well that Immunity immediately after play Rich Gang, and then like the next week that they've got the Avant-Garde game, right? So when you're looking into the future, and then the Direwolves game the week after that, they go, "Hey, we beat Chiefs, we can beat these guys too."
Yeah,
And all of a sudden, the opposition are going, "They've beaten Chiefs. What the hell do we?" That in
Exactly.
the psychological. They're gonna turn around and go, "Whoa, we can do this. We've got the." I love inspiring people and that sort of thing. You should hear the
and
pep talk,
immunity are very much that. Everyone's kind of picked up just how much their emotional state can affect their play. Like when they lost to Direwolves in the semifinals.
Yeah, the summer split. Well, spring split.
In summer split.
Spring.
Loser bracket.
Spring.
Finals.
NA and EU mess with my seasons. It's like it's summer, therefore we're doing summer. What do you mean it's not summer here? What's going on? Messing with my head. Yeah, and that just messed us up. Like we just. Like, it was obvious that we were just psychologically tilted like crazy. But when we get a win, boy, you should see our following games after that. Like it's going to be big. If we can take a game off Chiefs tomorrow, watch out for the rest of the season.
Well, I mean, if you can do that, it's going to set you guys up well to get that fourth place at the least, which is the key thing, because you really need to get both. AV and like both AV and Immunity both need to get win against the bigger teams to kind of get ahead of the rival. So I mean, for me, Direwolves and AV, that's going to be an interesting game, because for them it's also make or break. Like they need to, because you guys are tied. They're probably not going to get on I don't imagine either of you will get like a 4-foot win. I mean, if AV hadn't won against Fortnite for some reason, they probably would have. But they would have been in 5th place, clearly 5th place. So it's one of these things they really need to try and get a win over Direwolves so they can get ahead of Immunity and, secure that 4th spot. So that'll be the game. Yeah, I'm keen to see that game. And also Chiefs and Legacy is always good value. So but yeah, 16-0 Chiefs the dream. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Ugh, get out.
It's 14, isn't it?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Well, 16
Yeah,
is good as well.
7 weeks.
Yeah. And all the playoffs as well. They just win all of it.
Oh, you just want them to win everything.
Yeah, I just want them to win all of it.
I feel like we're having like an Undertaker undefeated at WrestleMania. The Chiefs lost to
30 years of Chiefs winning.
That's it.
Yeah. All right. I think we've probably covered all that.
Have we? Have we
really?
gone in depth here?
I don't know.
I feel like we could go so much deeper. No, we've gone far enough.
Let's answer the mailbag question because it's been there for a while, and then we'll go into Veigar. So, Gav asked on Facebook, he said, when you're playing in a role that you're average at, with a champ you're not familiar with, it's akin to learning a role from scratch. What pointers, things to focus on, information to read would you give to someone wanting to learn new champs at a role they're average at? So, yeah. Who wants to grab that one first?
Victor can take this one.
Yeah,
I've
Victor.
been talking the entire time.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and besides, Victor does this really well, so this will be great.
I do this really well. Oh,
Yeah,
thank
you
you
pick
so
up
Like
random
much.
Miss Fortune
crap.
Jungle. That's like...
Except for Zillion support. Don't get me started on New Zillion support.
He was very angry at my Zillion support.
I was rather annoyed. Let's just say that he casted 2 spells in the entirety of our lane phase together.
Way to stay on topic.
because I left.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
because I left the lane. Well, you know what? Everyone has to. Every once in a while, especially when you're playing ranked, even normals, you're gonna come into this situation where you're just gonna be in a role that you're not familiar with. It happens all the time. Respect pick order. There it is. I'm not very good with mid lane. I'm not very familiar with mid lane, but I think it's always worth taking a chance to at least learn one champ in every other role, even not to the extensive level that I might know, I don't know, like Gangplank top or Hecarim jungle or something like that. But still, you know, I play a little bit of Victor. I'd like to know a little bit of Victor, but sometimes, you know, you land in that role, you don't know what you're doing, you know, everyone's got to have their first time. Obviously, we talked about very simple champions to pick up a couple episodes ago. Tribal Last R, who are some really simple champions we can start picking up. You know, there are plenty of them out there. Like, obviously, I wouldn't say, oh yeah, go for Riven top lane, you'll be fine, don't worry about it. No, or Irelia. You know, there's a lot of real. A little bit difficult mechanically, you know. Maybe you might be better going for just something simple like a top lane tank. You know, very easy. Just stay alive for the entirety of the laning phase, and then just become a tank for the rest of the game. But well, I guess that's exactly it. When it comes down to it, just try your best not to die, and use your mid to late game or damage or whatever you have. And if that's the case, you just try not to die in the early phase. Don't pick something like Pantheon, who really needs to win out that lane phase, or Riven, who wants to get that level 2 snowball or something. Look for something more.
I want to touch on your
you go for it.
don't die point. I'll let you finish your sentence. I want to come back to that. So keep going.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, so, you know, don't go for that early sort of snowball champ. But at the same time, don't go for that really dangerous late game Nasus or Poppy pickup, you know, because if you just getting absolutely shreked in the early game because you don't know what you're doing, especially mid lane, which is heavily centered around trading, and a lot of mid laners I discovered are actually pretty good traders compared to top lane. Mid lane is shit all over them when it comes to trading. So be careful. So be very careful around those Nasus pickups. Like I had a really big spit about it on the Victor show. You know, stop going for the hyper carries if they got like really weak laning phases. So go for them sort of mid-gamey safe champions that still sort of have an impact in late game. But you know, just play whatever you want. I don't care. Yeah.
Corgis.
I mean,
Play whatever you want. I don't care. That's the best way to end that rant. No, I wanted to point out, like, the don't die part is so important. And my answer to this question is going to be more focused on if you're unfamiliar in the role and you've got the choice of what champion you're playing, pick someone that is very fundamental to that role. Like someone that is well known for that position, not necessarily OP in that slot, but you know, like Caitlyn is a great example. She's got a really long range, and she's just a lane bully just by the nature of how long her Q goes for. You know, she can push a lane if she wants to. She can just last hit if she wants to, and she's got an escape. You know, that's just an example. She is a simple character to learn in reference to the question that we got a few weeks ago. But it's more about just doing what you can to do what you know that that role does. Like if you've never jungled before and you're in the last pick slot, everyone else has got their stuff. I don't have any idea what to do with jungle, and right now you're thinking, oh god, what's a jungler? What have I seen? You know, think like if you just instantly you click Warwick because you've got 2 seconds to make a decision, then okay, I'm Warwick. What do I do? And take a second while you're auto-attacking wolves or blue buff or whatever to read what your abilities do if you're really not familiar with the champion. So I'm just going to go on the assumption that you're at least familiar enough to know what the champion does. So, okay, I'm Warwick. When I press R, I jump towards a target and suppress them. And I do a bit of damage, right? Just build defensively on the jungler because you're not sure what your damage output's going to be. So it's better safe than sorry. Again, on the don't die thing. Because if you die, you are so far behind. Especially if you die to red buff, that's just humiliating and you've just tarnished your entire reputation for the rest of that game.
And on a gold-deprived role as well. You really fall behind on a gold-deprived role.
Yeah, like if you're like, okay, I don't really know what I'm doing, and you're playing Jarvan or Pantheon or whoever out of the jungle, for example, and you go to gank mid lane, you have no idea what your damage output is normally, let alone against the specific champion that you're ganking. You don't have experience in ganking. If you give up a kill to that enemy mid laner, you've just been a massive detriment to your team. So you can do plenty just by walking and showing that you're there without going all in and going, oh god, I hope this works. Like, you don't need to play Red Eye, you don't need to play Ham. For people who don't know what Red Eye is, I thought everybody knew what this was. It's when you focus... Yeah, I thought everyone knew, but then like three different people asked me.
No, I knew.
It's the middle of the night overnight flight, isn't it?
Yes, but in this context it means something different. It's when you... I think it's actually originally a Doctor Who reference to the Ood, but anyway. It's when you just like rage takes over. You really want to kill that guy, regardless of what happens to you, your friends, your family. It doesn't matter. I gotta kill that guy, and just you don't accomplish anything. You may or may not have killed them, but you died, and everything is worse because you didn't pay attention to the scenario. That's really what you need to focus on: is not screwing things up. Sometimes you need to learn to be carried. Like, you're not going to be able to carry every single game. It's statistically impossible. Unless you're just absolutely off the wall mechanics, and none of you guys out there are at that sort of level. Unless Faker, you're listening, and I didn't know you spoke English, so awesome. You know, no one's really at that level. And if you're playing a champ you're not familiar with, then learn them. Try and don't test their limits in a ranked game. You know, if you've been forced into that lane, and you're like, okay, Jarvan was kind of fun. Jump into a custom game and just put some bots on or whatever and try things out, or a normal game and say, I'm getting some Jarvan practice or whatever. Just, you know, get the hang of it in a stress-free environment. And that way, next time you're in a ranked game and your last pick, you've got a default champion you can go to because you're familiar with that. You may not, you may not be able to calculate exactly how much damage you're going to take from a fed Ahri at a particular level, but you know your way around well enough to not lose the game for your teammates who might be able to carry you otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, I guess some of this ties into kind of knowing what kind of clusters a champion fits into. So, I mean, something like when I'm playing ranked and I get lumped with, say, with jungle or top lane, I kind of think, well, who do I know is kind of a safe top laner that gets played at a professional level, like Renekton or Ryze or J4 or because I'm not really that familiar with that many of those kinds of champions. So then you sort of think, well, what sort of in terms of items, there's kind of clusters. So J4 is part of the cluster of warrior using champions, along with Nocturne, along with Vi, along with, those sorts of champs. And then you've kind of got in top lane, so, or with mage type champions, you got the ones that start with a Rod of Ages, and then you kind of got ones that start with something else, you might go Morellonomicon, or they might start Athenes, and bottom lane, you've got the tanky supports that go Relic Shield, and then you got the sort of utility supports that go Ancient Coin, and then you've got the AP supports that go Spell Thief's Edge. You know, they kind of like, in just terms of sort of a general idea of kind of what you buy items wise. So I mean, probably if you are going to be playing a new champion, a role you're average with or not familiar with, try and think about kind of the itemization, because that can help you figure out what you sort of going to do. Like, you know, a tanky jungler is you're going to play a bit differently from a warrior type jungler, you know. So that's kind of like, that's probably one of the first things I would encourage. So just get a general, and what you can do is you can go to Mobifier and bring up the champion, you know, with all the guides, because I mean, reading guides is not great, but you can just look at what are the items that all these guides have in common. Like, if every guide has got Athenes for Ziggs, then you know that you want to go with things with Ziggs. Like, if every single J4 guide has Warrior and Enchant and then Brutalizer, you know, go for that. Like, just, yeah. So that's probably, you know, top lane, you know, a lot of champions use Hydra and Tiamat. So that's, you know, so like a Riven, like actually probably J4 in the top lane, or Renekton, those guys are going to be they're going to be going for Ravenous Hydra early, and then, you know, probably building tanky for some of the rest of it. Not so much with Riven, but with others. So yeah, you just get a general kind of idea of what sort of clusters of that these champions sit in, and then that gives you just a general idea of where you should be building items, because there's kind of, for me, that's one of the trickiest things. Like, I can look at a kit in, like, you know, a champion's abilities and go, okay, well, you know, Garen does this, you know, J4 does this. Like, you know, there's knockups, there's slows, you know, okay, so that's kind of an initiator, you know.
I do like the way you've interpreted this question, because when I was reading through this, I felt like, you know, this is a level 25. You know, this person.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like, they don't know the other champ. Like, they've played 14 games of Leona and 20 games on Caitlyn, and the rest is all just random stuff, and they don't watch pro games and stuff. So that's how I interpreted the question, but I like the way you're talking about it as well. It gives a different dynamic.
Yeah. So you just, I mean, once you've, because there's generally all the champions kind of fit into a similar sort of itemization. Like, it's not exactly the same, and obviously, you know, the situational things you might change, and even you know, even if you're, as you get better with the game, you know, okay, if you know, say you're looking at a guide, just to give you a general idea, you know, they go for Frozen Heart. Well, he doesn't itemize off mana, so obviously it's Frozen Hearts because they want the armor, but they've all got magic resist. They've all got like magic. They've got no AD. So I'm going to switch that out for, you know, so that's where experience kicks in, where you get to know the game better. You know which items will work and won't work situationally. But most champions, for say 4 items out of their 6, will be the same in that cluster. So you know, a Corki.
Go.
Oh, sorry, I was going to say, like, you know, some, you know, in the bottom lane, like Alistar, Braum, Leona, probably Thresh, maybe even. They're all going to build pretty much the same few items. In fact, all supports build Mikhails. Like, all supports should build Mikhails. Like, so you just know that if I play support, I'll build Mikhails. I'm going to build Mikhails probably third. You know, if you're top lane, you're going to be building Ravenous Hydra. You're going to be building Randuin's Omen. You might be a Righteous Glory. You know, AD carries always got. I mean, they've always got Hurricane Boots, with very few exceptions. Sorry, not Hurricane Boots.
Hurricane Boots.
Berserker Greaves. I'm thinking attack speed. So I'm thinking Runa's Hurricane. You know, attack speed. So you know, they're always going for the Berserker Greaves, like almost universally. You know, you've got the AD kind of heavy burst sort of auto attacking chip. So like a Graves. Caitlyn, they're going to build kind of similar, and then you got kind of the Trinity Force, like Corki, Ezreal are kind of a different little cluster. So it's just, you just kind of got to know kind of for itemization, what cluster does the champion sit in?
Well, I think, and shut your mouth. That's it. No, well, I think that's actually the opposite advice I wanted to give. I would ask someone, like if you're in the scenario that I was talking about, where you've just last picked Warwick as kind of a Hail Mary scenario, like, type out, what do I build on Warwick? You know, as kind of a, I need help, offer advice. And a lot of people out there are willing to help if you ask for it. But if you just go out
in the right way
at the very start of the game don't
Not
like
when
get
you're
halfway.
5 kills. Not when you fed 5 kills and they're just
Exactly.
fuck you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very much not the good
Warwick
thing.
noob reported.
And make sure you ask
Yeah.
in the right way and be willing to accept the advice as well. Don't just ask and just be like, no, you're wrong. That'd
Yeah.
never work on this. You've
Don't
never played the
ask-
champion. What do you know what works on them?
Yeah, Scott.
Like I've seen Vamp Scepters on Leona. You know, I've seen all kinds of random things, and like it's all part of a.
Do it.
Don't do it. It does.
Hey,
not.
Vamp
you
Step
build,
on
you
the
build
twist.
what's it called? The banner thing?
What is that
The-
reset? Banner of Command?
No, not banner of command. The lifesteal
no,
Zeke's
CDO
Herald.
one.
Oh,
Yeah, Zeke's
yeah.
Herald.
And
That's a
no,
winning item, man.
It's-
Totally
No,
buy
you know,
that.
you know what Leona needs? She needs an ardent sensor.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Unsensor.
That's what
Telling
I
you,
If
as
you
a Leona
run
main,
heal
it's a
on
winner.
Leona, if you run heal on Leona, it works.
Yeah, absolutely.
Steve's just sitting here just going,
Once
"No."
every 2 minutes.
no.
This is it. I'm teaching Tegan this strategy.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. You're going to see this OPL this week.
Oh goodness.
T-Gun community. Just see
But no,
Steve
yeah, I'm
rage
not gonna-
quit.
I definitely think going for easy mechanic-based champions, like Warwick, obviously isn't intense in mechanics, so you know he's a good pick. Whereas somebody like Jarvan and Vi and Lee Sin especially, don't pick Lee Sin if it's your first time jungling. That's just a terrible idea. Yes, he's fun, but make sure you learn how to gank and counter gank first.
Yeah, but I mean, okay, so say, let's
control
take,
your body.
with
Control
Jarvan.
your body, because your body's going to tell you yes. You need to be able to.
Your
control it.
mind's telling me no, but my body's telling me
Yeah.
yeah.
The
I
thing is,
can't
with,
help
okay, sorry,
feel
Vi and
that
Jarvan.
Victor brought that up and intentionally trying to get Ranconius to burst.
I
into
didn't
song.
want him to sing, but he just does.
I mean, like, I agree with the Lee Sin thing because he is quite difficult. But I mean, Vi and Jarvan, like, if you know how to play the game, I mean, if we're talking about level 20s, yeah, okay, maybe not them, but if you're level, you know, if you've been playing for a while, because you know, when you're a normal person, you can't play every champion. You can't play League long enough to be able to do that. Like, it's just not. People got jobs and lives and uni and all the rest of it. So, you know, there's gonna be lots of champions you don't know. So I actually think Jarvan and Vi, they're not bad champs. You know, Nocturne, Pantheon's a bit trickier just because of his mana management. Like
Also,
that's
it's
he's
got one way
really punishing in that regard. But
Yeah.
you know, I think Jarvan's actually really not a bad. Like, as long as you actually know how to use a skill shot, which if you've been playing for like
Well,
6 months, you should know how to do.
Yeah.
But
If you've been playing for 6 months, here's a good rule of thumb. If you're in an unfamiliar role on an unfamiliar champion, think back to all the games that you've had where you went, what the hell did my jungler just do? That was dumb. Don't do that. That's pretty much how you should play when you're completely
And-
unfamiliar with a champion.
When you get
And
stuck
the
with
role.
support, yeah, just like something to keep out for that a lot of people don't pay attention to in the support role as well. This is obviously role specific. We're probably starting to get into some role specific stuff.
Well, that's all right.
As a support, something you should be watching for is if your AD carry is about to last hit, don't trade. They're gonna last hit over trading if they're smart. And
Well, I know-
conversely, if the enemy AD carry is about to last hit and your AD carry is not about to last hit, that is a perfect time to trade. Why? Because auto attacks you have to consider as a cooldown. Early on, they have a long cooldown. And as you level up, they get shorter cooldowns. And as you build attack speed, they get shorter cooldowns. The same with cooldown reductions and leveling up the rest of your abilities. They are just another cooldown. So, that AD carry walks forward, he's auto-attacked. His auto-attack is now on cooldown. Yours is free and will not be required to last hit in the near future. So that's cool. That's another portion of cooldown management is actually the auto-attacks.
See,
That's
when
a bad
I'm
advice.
because I've been put onto support a couple of times, and support is my weakest role. So what I do is I go back to my fundamentals with that sort of stuff. I go, I know I need a gold per 5 item, I know I need to ward, and I know I need to keep my my AD carry alive. Those are my 3 fundamentals. Like the whole going in and trading when auto attack stuff, that's not even entering my mind. I'm going, don't screw this up. Make sure if they come at me, headbutt that guy away. You know, pulverize and run. You know, that sort of stuff. So if
That's a good baseline. That's a
yeah,
good baseline.
exactly.
This is
Remember
moving on.
your fundamentals. Remember your fundamentals. That's pretty much the answer to the question, I would say.
When I was learning, like I have a pretty like I can play any role just about like to a certain degree. I'm not like I can play any role, no problem, I'll do it. But like, like mid lane's my weakest role. But like I just want to say, I'm having trouble articulating myself. Know what roles you are generally familiar with playing. Are you a mage style player? Are you a tank style player? Are you a fighter style player? And you can, and if you're putting into if you put into a different role, you can sort of think, okay, I normally play like Lux in the mid lane. I'm pretty good with mages. I can handle a mage. Oh, I'm stuck in the support role. Morgana's magey. You know, I can land that skill shot in that pool. Maybe I can pull Morgana off. You know, you sort of make sort of comparisons like that. Or hey, I'm a top lane main. You know, I play lots of tanks and whatever. I learned Alistar. And Alistar's one of my favorite supports of all time because I'm a tank player. I just went for the natural. I just go for tanks.
He
I
totally
play jungle.
plays Malphite mid.
I've
totally
never played.
does.
I've never played.
Are you serious?
Alex itch style.
I played. No. Like, but when it came to different roles, I was playing like mid lane. I played nothing but Victor. That's all I can really play in mid lane. But you know, if you know your role, you can sort of be like I know a bit of Gnar in top lane. I can maybe find a couple 80 carries I can probably pick up. Yeah, they got ranged auto attacks too.
Wow. Did you just mention all 80 carries?
Don't bring up Gnar as an 80 carry again, Scott.
Don't. We're gonna get sidetracked if we do that.
Carrot, save us.
We've got 15 minutes left. So, is there any other sort of quick tips that anybody wants to make mention before we move on to talk about Veigar and maybe some of the stuff, the ongoing discussion from 5-4?
Well, I generally don't recommend to anyone to alt-tab out and start watching YouTube while you're on the loading screen, because I think that the first few seconds of that game are really, really important. But if you're truly clueless on what to build or what that champion does, just jump on, like, search YouTube for one of Red Mercy's videos or something for him playing that specific champion, because he's done a whole bunch of different things. It doesn't need to be Red Mercy specifically. I just know that he's fully endorsed by the Trinity Force Network, so that's the one I defaulted to. And just skip forward till about 10 minutes into the video, see what items he's got at that point, pause the video, go back to your game. It should have loaded by now. That'll give you just a snippet of your immediate direction. And when you inadvertently die trying to solo dragon because you're silly, then you can alt-tab out, skip to the 35-minute mark, find out what else the build was. But, always try and, like, as Carrot was saying before, work your build around what's in the game. Like, don't build Frozen Heart into an all-AP team. Don't be dumb. Don't be dumb.
I mean, and another place to go is, so probuilds.com, they just have nothing but what high-level players, like LCS level players and Korean players, or all what they've used in their solo queue games in the last however long. So, you can select by champion, you can select, and it gives you kind of the percentages of, like, how often, this summoner spell gets used with this champion, or this item gets used with this champion. I mean, those guys, they do troll a bit sometimes. Like, you'll see a build which is, like, completely stupid. But generally speaking, they know what they're doing. That's why they're paid to do it. So you just kind of get a general idea of sort of what roughly... And in the end, it doesn't really matter. Like, it's just a game. Like, you just one game. Next game, you're probably going to be playing something else. Like, you might be back to your more comfortable role. And just relax. Try and have a learning experience. Don't stress too much. If somebody starts to rage, like, flame you, mute them. Just, you win some, you lose some. And, yeah.
Don't get
caught
up
Sorry.
on games.
I just
like,
went off on another song tangent. I was like, in the end, it doesn't even matter.
Don't get caught up on your last game. Like, man, I'm sorry.
Don't get caught up in Linkin Park.
When I'm in game, I do get really angry. But once I'm finished with that game, I've forgotten about it. Yeah. Unless there's like something I'm like, you know what? I got angry there, but I was being too aggressive. Like, know your mistakes and don't get caught up on your game. Scott, don't talk. Let's talk about Veigar.
Let's talk about Veigar.
Actually, this is probably a good point, to touch up on before we go on to Veigar. Me and Victor played a game together last night.
Let's go on to Veigar. Let's go on to Veigar.
No, this is a good point, because
I don't want to talk about it.
I totally fucked up here. I totally fucked up in a major way. But I think Victor also made some slight
I want to move on because we were talking about this in private.
I'm not bringing up any of the shit that we said, but like, this is just a good example, right? If you So Victor just wanted to play a passive lane. I was fine. I wasn't overly happy with it, and we discussed this at length afterwards.
I wouldn't say that.
But, you know, chat to your people as well. If you're, especially for the duo lane people, and as well between top, jungle, mid, top, support, mid. If you want to do something, and you've seen it work, make sure you discuss it with them, because it's like, if like, okay, so in our situation last night, I ended up on
AD Zahar as an example.
No, let's not use AD Malzahar as an example, or AD Mordekaiser as an example, because that is not a thing, okay?
AD Malzahar works in Earth, that's it.
Anyway,
No, Dominion.
Anyway, keep going.
So, he was playing Zillion, and I was playing Corki. He wanted to play a passive lane into a Caitlyn Lulu, and initially I was like, yep, okay, that's gonna work. And then all of a sudden I noticed that the Caitlyn never ever walked up and autoed me. Never. So I was like, okay, let's start pushing this aggressively. And Victor kind of just continued to play that passivity style. And I didn't continue to clarify with him. That's where I fucked up. I should have said, hey, let's play this lane a little bit more aggressively. Or, you know, let's try something, because they're not. And I didn't. And that helps. Communicate with your team. Just because you're on a new champion and you have no idea what you're doing and you've already asked them for help, that's not enough. Say, hey, top, would you want to gank in, say, a minute's time, when I've cleared the bottom side of my jungle and I'm on the top side? And you'll be like, oh, I think the wave's about to push. Or, I'm running out of cooldowns, my ulti's down, you know, it'll be back up in 2 minutes. Come gank then. And, you know, just communicate that sort of stuff. Don't just sit there silently. And because that can cause issues, can't it, Victor?
I play alone, and when I play video games, I just make things happen.
Victor ended up in top lane very soon after this point. So
It was a really passive lane, and nothing was happening, and I'm like, dude, if I walk up, I'm gonna get queued by Lulu. I'm just gonna go somewhere else.
Not a bad way.
They weren't doing anything, so I just left, and Scott had to go at me for it. We'll talk about it later, honey. We'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
No, I want to talk
fighting
about
in
it
front
now.
of the children.
Damn it, I want our fighting to be recorded for the internet.
You're just mad because I build full tank on Zillion.
Oh god, don't get me started. I have another friend.
You are justified in that, Rancuniers. Carrot, would you like to take us
Yeah,
over
let's talk about Veigar, since, you know... well, Steve, do you want to go and do it first? Because you wanted to make a comment about Veigar.
Yeah,
and
well...
where you think he's at post
I'm kind of annoyed. Because I've been a huge Veigar fan for ages. I love doing the voices whenever I get him in ARAMs and stuff on TeamSpeak and stuff. It's a lot of fun.
He does.
I do it. There was
One of the joys of playing with Steve.
It's fun. Anyway. I've really always loved his kit, and I've been wanting him to come back into... I've been wanting to see him in competitive play for ages, and about 3 or 4 weeks, I think it was 4 weeks ago, we started to see Pawn picking him up in the mid lane, and he was early picking him, like either first pick or first rotation. He was picking up Veigar, and he was playing him on a professional level, and I'm like, that's fantastic. I've been wanting this for ages. Watching, and he did really well. He did really well into all the metagame picks. Didn't have a 100% win record on him, but did very, very well. And when he was counterpicked in mid, he was picked as support. Now, this is very important. This is why I wanted to talk about Veigar this week, was because him in the support role is like Annie, but better in some ways. Because Annie is... Everybody knows support Annie. She has a really long auto attack range, and that does account for a lot of her being there in the first place, but her stun is the reason she's playable there at all. Veigar is in a similar situation, except his stun is longer range. Now, in the recent rework, they delayed his stun by 0.75 seconds. Now, I was of mixed feelings when I read this. I've had a little bit of a time to play him, and I've talked to a few others about it, and it basically eliminates him from ever being a support Veigar. Like, you cannot play support Veigar at all anymore, because that stun is now less reliable than Annie's. And the timing of this rework has me a little curious. I feel like either it's a massive coincidence or Riot went, no, we can't have Veigar getting out of control in this professional scene. We've got everything kind of where we want it, where we can balance it. We do not need Veigar upsetting the apple cart. So I think they put the rework forward. Don't get me wrong, I think the rework is fine. But now that he's not a viable support, you can't pick him the same way that you did previously. So I think he's only had like a very, very short amount of time in pro play. Very short amount of time. And now I think he's gone because he's no longer a flex pick. You can't play him in support, which means he's far less likely to be picked up in mid. Don't get me wrong, I think as a mid lane champion, he's probably better now than he was before. Like, similar to Cassiopeia. Like, Cassiopeia was really strong in one way, then they reworked her, and now she's really strong in another way. Now she's competitive. I don't think Veigar's going to be competitive just because his event horizon doesn't really work with the new dark, like with dark matter now.
Yeah, it's kind of like...
It depends. Like, I'll have to see how people are able to use that. Like, whether or not the stun will hit or not is really up to the individual player. Because, you know, like, pros can dodge skill shots, but pros can also land skill shots in ridiculous circumstances. So, if that works, and Dark Matter can still hit, then he may become incredibly viable, but without him being able to play... Without his stun being instant, he's not going to be in support, which makes him less favorable in general.
But they could also buff his damage. I mean, that's one of the things they can do now that his stun isn't instantaneous and his Q is a skill shot. Is because essentially they had a trade-off. If they put too much damage in his kit like that, it'd just be stupid. I mean, you get let an instant stun and then target all this massive burst at somebody. I mean, essentially they're trying to take that sort of hunt, 0 to 100 dead out of the game. I guess now that they've reduced brought the timer, or the delay on his stun, Q's now a skill shot. They can actually decide to go, well, let's buff his base damage. Let's buff his late game. Could do one of those, do that sort of thing, and then I guess maybe it does become more viable or Veigarable.
No.
Because they can increase his damage potential.
What's that viable champion again?
Yeah.
Fuck you.
I mean,
story there.
It's totally plausible, like totally
this is discussed
possible
on every episode of my podcast.
that that Veigar could see some serious buffs because now they've reworked the kind of the power. What do they call it? The power budget. They've taken the power away from his event horizon, from his stun, and put it into something else.
Yeah, see, I think Veigar's... Sorry, go ahead, Scott.
The problem was they also nerfed some of the ratios on him as well. I think that's the weak spot he's in at the moment. I think this is one of the few reworks where they're going to be able to go, oh, hey, we can tune this up a little bit, which is nice. But I was actually playing him in mid lane at some point last night as well. One of my friends, or actually during the week, one of my friends just said, yeah, just go random lock and lock in and go whatever, role fits. We're just going to give you whatever role and you can random lock. And I got Veigar and I played him and
Never
he was... Yes, don't do that. But the AP stacking was actually significant. I ended up with about 200 AP bonus from Q at about 25 minutes.
Yeah. See, with the way his new Q works, he can get a lot more AP. So I think that in a way makes up for... Like, we discussed this last week where his ratios are worse, but he gets more AP naturally. So it could working out that he's going to be more powerful on a base value. But I just think Riot's design model at the moment are moving away from the 100 to 0 champions.
Yeah.
Like, if Veigar and maybe Syndra and Malzahar or whatever, if they were the few champions that could do that but had their weaknesses to make sure that they weren't completely out of control, then that would be fine. But I feel that they're moving everyone away from that. And I don't think Veigar has a place anywhere if he's not doing that. So,
well, I guess what we've seen, like with Zed, Zed used to be like that. Now they've kind of changed it a bit so that you have to kind of use him right, and you have to position right and stuff like that. Like you can't. Essentially having no counterplay because you were there and then you're gone.
Yeah,
is just no fun to play against. And so I guess what they'll eventually, with Syndra you have to land now a relatively narrow stun. and Zed has to kind of get around the back and the side, and Ringard has to do the same, and so there's this, I guess, the reposition it, so it's you actually have to do something to get to that point where you can 0 to 100, because that kind of does have a play. I mean, obviously burst champions are a reality. They're not going to get rid of burst champions. They just need to make it so burst champions are like fun to play against and not completely broken.
The thing I like about Veigar's Q, the one he currently has, is because I don't like it when Riot just add damage or just take away damage. Well, if damage needs to go, damage needs to go. But the thing I don't like adding damage, like particularly to Veigar. Veigar 100 to 0. I mean, you add a little bit more damage. Okay, now we can 101 to 0. What was the point of that?
Now you can 100 to 0 a tank.
Yeah. Well, the thing I like about his Q is it's not changed his damage. It's changed his access to the damage. So now the potential to get more damage is there, but he's lost a bit of scaling off his ultimate. So if he doesn't get there, well, then that's on you, Veigar. You gave you the tools to make it happen, but you couldn't make it happen now, didn't you? You've got to finish your beans before you have your dessert.
Last hitting with his Q is actually a lot easier, and you can last hit the majority of a wave now if you prepare it correctly, but you're spending your entire game focusing on that. But the other thing you can now do with it is you can poke and then last hit at the same skill shot, which is a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. It was just like, oh, hey, Akali, you're coming up and spamming Q in my face. I'm going to hit you and last hit. Yeah. Oh, look, I got AP and I traded better.
It's not stressful to deal with when you play against him either, because, if you get hit by a Veigar skill shot, it's on you. If you get hit by a skill shot, that's entirely on you.
That's a very important point. I actually forgot to mention that when I was doing my little spiel earlier. Whoever's typing, you're very loud. Bad carrot. No,
down boy.
What I wanted to say was the changes to the Q. Previously, it was like Tarek's stun. It was point and click. You would hit your spell. That was actually very, very good for trades. Now, with the skill shot based and the fact that they can stand behind 3 minions and you can make it impossible to trade, that I think is actually going to hurt his laning. And as you just said, Victor, that if you get hit by a Veigar skill shot, that's on you. Like, right there. They've done what to Veigar's Q, what they did to Draven's passive, where previously it was a bleed, and now it's the more you last hit and catch axes, the more money you get when you get a kill. Like, they've changed the pacing, so instead of being able to be really aggressive in lane, you have to be really passive and farm in lane, and wait for the right moment. Now, I like that, and I don't like that. I'm of two minds on that idea. Yeah, so when you eventually hit 6 and you all in with a jungle gank, you're going to be able just to completely obliterate them.
But
whereas previously you could obliterate them without it. So
yeah, he can actually he has a really decent 2v2 at the moment. Actually, if you line it up perfectly, his 2v2 is really strong. So he has a really nice potential for counter gank. And we were talking a little bit about Syndra and Zed and everything earlier. When you comparing to somebody like Malzahar, yeah, he hasn't got that guaranteed CC, but he still has the same sort of mobility, and the reason for that is he can scale harder, right? So you've given this champion some CC that is dodgeable, but you've given them super scaling. So I think he's a lot more balanced than a Nasus is. Nasus can only ever be overpowered or underpowered. He can't fit in the middle. Just because of the way his kit works. And that's... Whereas Veigar's in a nice state. And Malzahar's in this funky state because he's either overpowered or underpowered. He's nowhere in the middle. So...
Yeah. See, if I was to address anything in Veigar, it wouldn't be to give him more damage. It would, again, more like a better access to his damage. And the thing I would look at first is Dark Matter. Because my problem with Dark Matter is its current synergy with his kit. And... it saw a buff to its cooldown, which honestly, it doesn't do anything for the ability other than up your wave clear, and then it ups my temptation to clear a wave instead of farming it with Q. The Dark Matter now and the Dark Matter of old are pretty much exactly the same because they depend on that CC landing for it to ever hit.
Yeah, but now it's harder to hit the CC.
Yeah, and it's still like you using this ability is still gated on whether or not you landed that stun. So this current ability, I don't feel very much for. I think if they wanted to buff it at all, the cooldown definitely not the way to go because it's gated by his stun. Its cooldown is pretty much equal to its stun, unless it's got a longer cooldown than its stun, because that's the only time you're really using it, unless you're clearing minions.
Yeah.
I would either, I know, and Lola argued about this for like ever. I would probably up the AOE of his stun. Just so if you place it just right, you know, maybe you can nick him with it. And there you go, you hit the damage. Good work, Veigar. You just nicked him with it, or maybe you threw it down in one area and they've gone to dodge it, and you've thrown your Q at them, and hey, you didn't hit your dark matter, but you lined up an easy shot at your Q, or you've thrown down your dark matter. Oh, it's going to hit them. They need to run away from that. You just made them walk straight into your stun, and they've had to choose between the stun or the damage, and that's something Steve spoke to me about, and I have to credit him for.
I actually wanted to. If we're gonna have like a riot please moment here, and forgive me for doing so, but I think it'd be cooler if dark matter worked like Fizz's ultimate, where if you hit them, if you got the initial skill shot off on them, the dark matter stayed with them, sort of the similar way to Zillion's time bombs, and it just kind of followed them around. I think that'd be cool because then you could also use them trying to dodge their teammates to line up the stun on either them or their teammates, and then follow up with the rest of the combo or something like that. That's just a pipe dream of mine. I think that'd be
I
cool.
agree with that. His kit just feels too mechanically simple. So I think they tried to add that with the Q, but it's not really all that different.
I just think dark matter does not synergize with his current kit. It synergizes with his old kit, and it's an out of date ability in an in date kit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I think the problem is.
Yeah, right. And when they try, from obviously having the experience of playing him, it just felt funny. It's just like, if I throw my E, it's used, but I can either hit them. I'm probably not going to hit them with it straight up. So I either try and cage them with it. But oh look, they've got 0.75 seconds. Everybody just uses their dashes and gets the hell out. Now I've got this W that's like next to useless. That's the real problem with his kit moving forward, is that they need to find a way to make dark matter feel relevant within his kit. Whether that's the Fizz ultimate, whether that's maybe adding a slow to it to help you hit the ultimate, the E. Maybe that's a portion that they can explore. Take a little bit of the damage off it, maybe apply a 20-30% slow. It doesn't have to be much, just a little bit of a slow, but that gives you enough time
faster.
To make importantly, but enough time to try and make, or even wipe out the initial animation. I say give Veigar a cast animation. You know the range that it's going to be in because he's cast it, but you don't know where in that range it's going to land.
It's kind of weird. That's really kind of weird.
Because counterplay. I can run away. I can juke this way.
Yeah. I guess that kind of takes away from clarity at that point. I reckon.
I agree.
Yeah,
anyway, we're running out of time. So anyway, let's maybe give you final thoughts, and then we'll wrap the show up.
I just like a lot of people on Twitter particularly. I know like DeClaude is up in arms about it as well. A lot of people are saying, you got to be using it differently now. It's more of a zoning ability. Is dark matter now? You're supposed to use zone. I think, dark matter's a part of his big damage combo. He relies on that to actually 100 to 0 someone, which is something Veigar needs to be able to do, because if he doesn't 100 to 0 someone, well, he's just died because because his only defense is kill the other person before they kill you. So, sure, it's a zoning ability now, but Veigar's lost a huge amount of his damage if this ability has purely become something you use to make someone run in a different direction.
Yeah. But I mean, to be honest, he's not the only champion that has a CC that's on a delay. I mean, Leona and Thresh both have their ultimates on a delay, and they're pretty. They can destroy teams with what they do. So, I wouldn't. I think it's just there's an adjustment period, and until that adjustment happens, like always, League of Legends players whinge like absolute flippin' old women.
But with that said, those champions have the ability to follow up if they miss that. that spell, right? Leona can E in. Even if she misses her ultimate and that zones the enemy towards her, or it zones them in a specific direction, she can then flash E, she can then flash Q, she can then walk up and E. Veigar can flash and throw his W for all his might, but if he's missed his stun, he's missing his W.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm not making a direct comparison because there's supports and Veigar's not.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that, like, good Thresh players and good Leona players, and there's probably other things as well, where there's a delay on the CC, if you're good enough, you factor that in. So, anyway, let's... Steve, any final... Since you wanted to talk about Veigar, do you have any final thoughts? And then we'll...
Well, just that the main reason I wanted to talk to him is the delay on his stun has made him an unviable support in professional play. Like, it's just not worth it when you consider you could go, Annie or...
Annie's probably the
Give
right one.
Annie a delay on her CC, yes! Oh dear god, that would be fantastic.
Now just use Annie's instant stun instead. It does more damage.
Unveigarable.
Oh my god.
Thank you,
I love
Carrot.
that. It's going to be the name of the show. Alright, this has been episode 77 of the OzLoL podcast. Now, Trippy Guy in the chat said that Oceanic Ballerina will be on tomorrow night, that is Thursday night. So we'll be tweeting about that.
Yeah, if OPL's not your thing.
If OPL's not your thing, then twitter.com/OzLoL podcast. You can find out the info there, or facebook.com/OzLoL podcast.
And if
And don't
OPL's
forget
not
to
your
bring your
thing,
bling.
if
OPL
OPL's
is
not your thing,
don't forget to bring
congratulations
your
for making...
bling.
Oh god, don't... Congratulations for making it through the first half hour of this podcast.
Alright. Alright, well, we'll be back again next week. Thanks everybody for joining us, and enjoy AOPL tomorrow night.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.